Dare to look into a world where you are vulnerable. Smile, while the clueless glass shows what it sees, never knowing the beauty that lies beneath.
Haku, haku, lahupwashwashets. Hello, how are you? I start my day always grateful for waking up and being upright, eyes open. So I send Creator a message to bless us all and to keep us healthy. Thank you. So we were all indigenous once. Growing up in my homeland, because of our name, Tumamait, which is very rare in this world to have the only surviving Chumash name as a surname, people often knew that that was because of our race, our ethnicity, being Chumash. And they would often ask me, what's it like to be living in your homeland? Well, I would say, go home. But that wasn't very nice. But you know, it's a way to explore. We all come from a place of indigenous, of where we all honored and lived off the land. And we had our reciprocities that happened throughout the years and every season. So those are the things that I want to talk about in bringing back in where we are living now here in this area. So I want to share with you a story, one that was and still is shared many times. And it's one of acknowledging that our stories, as people call them, fairy tale, myth, and lore. And they're actually teachings. In the time that we're so familiar with in our days today, the droughts, it was no different for our people. But in those days, we didn't have the luxuries and the conveniences we have today. So they relied solely on everything that grew and walked on this earth and swam in the waters to sustain themselves and give them so many things. But then when the droughts came, the animals and plants were dying. The people were starving to death. They didn't know what to do, and they started praying and praying. And as they prayed, unbeknownst to them, down below in the bottom of the ocean, the Elohayun was playing catch with Pahat, the whale. And as they were coming down to the ocean and gathering in large groups, one day their prayers were answered, and Pahat, the whale, was on the beach. And they were so grateful for that gift. And so they sang a song of gratitude. Ahile la sunu, ahile la sunu. Wawala wakai, wawala wakai, wawala wakai. And so every year, as that time came for the reciprocities of honoring all life in this world, we did that. We sang them songs. We danced in regalia and just gave our gratitudes. So then, as people came into North America, it changed our landscape forever. Where all those lands and all those places for the Chumash, 7,000 square miles and Channel Islands out here in our Pacific Ocean, was home to us. We were now subjugated and assimilated, colonized, vandalized, even our lands marginalized and taken from us, sold out from under us. Our lives changed dramatically. And so the struggle to get back when children are taken from homes and they're put into boarding schools, kill the Indian, save the child, was the slogan for many, many years. And we still have, we just lost an elder who remembers those boarding school days. So it's been a struggle to find our place in our natural world, but we have found it. And we had to go deep into these places to look where this information was and being out in our places. And we saw so many exciting places to go, our sacred mountains, our islands, which are protected, which we are thankful for. And how can you help with that? How can you help understanding that feeling of being indigenous? You learn, like we did, and we are always still learning, And that's the exciting part of it, that you dive into who you are. We all have this memory of being indigenous from someplace. Our names tell us who we are and where we're from. We have the stories. We have the connection with the earth. The one thing that we haven't kept too much is the language. But we're learning that language. And the earth remembers us. It knows who we are. The ancestors has put the memory into our DNA, has put it into our genes and in our memories, and what we call the dream time. And so when we explore who we are as people, we all know that we all lived on this earth. We all lived in this place that sustains us and still can sustain us today, but there's a lot of work to be done. So what can we do? We can recycle. We can use less. We can slow down. We're in such a hurry right now. Where are we going? So let's step back, and we can volunteer. We have all this, the natural world, as it was said earlier in the talks, that it has its own way of protecting itself and protecting us. So I see the oak trees being one of those people, the rooted people that can help us clean up this carbon emission. Everybody around the world use the oaks. It's the child of the moon, and it's our Atishwin, our spirit helper. We can start restoring our landscape. A lot of people came here with the notion that they needed these things from these other countries to come and help them because they didn't know what was over here in North America. They didn't know all the abundance of the land. And so they brought plants and other species that just have devastated us to this day. The arundo donax, which actually was a major cause in some of our wildfires that we just had. The eucalyptus, one single tree, gulping hundreds of liters of water a day, and you see it everywhere in our landscape. So we're restoring those. So go out and volunteer and help and see what you can do to start looking at the beauty of our natural landscapes and be able to restore. It creates the environment that we once had. It gives us a sense of where people say, oh, there are no seasons in California. Yes, there are, and they're quite beautiful and abundant. We still have a lot of our native resources, and speaking of that, there's those resources that are being extracted from our earth. We need to find a better way for that. And as we move into this place of this knowledge, we will find that we all have the same place and the same spirit of looking at our Mother Earth. It's our only place. It is our one home. So as we look at stepping back a little bit, we can't go back to those indigenous ways. It's really very difficult to do that, living seasonally and expecting. We've gone too far beyond that. But as we step back a little bit, we can see how we can help clean up our Mother Ocean. We are all breathing and eating microplastics right now. So as we look in these efforts to try and restore this earth, I just hope it's not too late and that we can still find a way to step back a little bit. I think this is generation, we're leaving you so much to do, and I'm sorry for that. So we can all work together in finding this way to learn about this landscape, learn the beauty of it, the stories, and it's going to remind you. And maybe your parents and your grandparents will start telling you the stories of the homelands in which you come from, and that we can appreciate and know that that is still a very strong part of us in our spirit. We have in our history all these stories that come to us, and one was about a man who played his flute. And in this thought, as he was playing, he determined that the world was made up of cause and gain. And people went so far as killing one another, and gain was the cause of it. So as he played his flute, he determined that profit will always exist, and gain is the touchstone to the human heart. And so this song is sung for that purpose. It comes from our elders, Fernando Labrado, Quetzalcoatl. He died in 1915. And with those small bits of information that we still have from our families, we share this with you. See, we knew, hi, ya, ya. See, we knew, hi, ya, ya. 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 That's all it is. Join in. See, we knew, hi, ya, ya. See, we knew, hi, ya, ya. 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 See, we knew, hi, ya, ya. See, we knew, hi, ya, ya. 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 So, Kiwanan, goodbye for now. Thank you.